Welcome back to my channel, guys. In this video we'll learn how to cut this two-piece. Here is my inspiration. This is a cam collar shirt with cuffs at the sleeves, and it also has buttons at the sleeves. So if you something you want to learn, kindly continue watching and let's get right into the video. First, I'll be cutting the pants. Okay, now I've folded the fabric into two. I'll be cutting the back of the trouser first, the front of the trouser first. And for your information, I used 4 yards for this. Okay, so this is a sunray fabric. It is this kind of fabric that is a bit stretchy and with horizontal lines, right? So let's get into cutting the trouser. Now I measured from my waist, that's my starting point, to my hip, okay, of 9 inches, and I marked it. And then I'm going to mark my crotch. I'm marking a crotch of 13 inches. Okay, it's a palazzo, so it's going to be free. I already marked my full length and I added 2 inches hemming allowance. Then after marking my crotch, I'm going to mark my knee length. I'm marking a knee length of 23 inches, and I'm just going to extend these lines I've already marked: my hip, my thigh, and then my knee length. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do is to make my curve, my hip curve. So I'll come on at the hem and I'll measure in 2 inches. This is very pretty beginners friendly way to cut your trouser. So I'll measure 2 inches on my hem, and then I'll come on my knee, that place I marked my knee, and I'm taking 1.5 inches and I'll mark it. Then I'll come on my waist and I'll mark 1 inch. What I'm trying to achieve is the hip curve to give my pants a shape. Okay, so I'll mark 1 inch on my waist, and then I'll connect this to my hip like this with the slight curve to create that hip curve. Then I'll connect down to that 1.5 I marked on my knee, and then to my hem, that 2 inches I marked on my knee. And now I've shaped the side of my pant, and this is our new line. So whatever measurements I'm taking, I'm using that new line. Okay, so now I'm going to take my circumference. Now I'm going to take my waist circumference divided by 4, but normally, because it's going to have an elastic at the waist, I'm going to use my hip circumference on my waist, right? Instead of using my waist circumference, I'll use my hip. So I'm going to divide my hip by 4, and then I'll add 2 inches to the value I have, and I'll mark it on my waist. So I'm using my hip measurement on my waist because it's going to have an elastic at the waist, right? So whatever measurement I get, I'm going to mark it. And remember, like I said, I'm starting from that chalked line, from the folded end. I'm starting from that chalked line that we already shaped out. Okay, so now on my hip, I also put my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches, and I'll mark. Then for my crotch, my thigh divided by 2, and I'll add 1 inch to it. So your thigh divided by 2, of course, is one of your lap, and then you're going to add just 1 inch to it. So I'll connect these lines like this, connect the points, and then you're just going to bring down from that whatever you have on your thigh there, just rule a straight line down to your hem. So this is a free pant because the fabric is stretchy, no dust, nothing, and we are going to use elastic on the waist, no zipper, just so straightforward. Now I'll go ahead and cut this out. This is my front piece. I will use this to place on another folded material, another folded fabric to cut the back. I'll use it as a guide to cut the back. So after I'm done cutting, I'm just going to place it on another one and we'll cut the back of the pants. So now I'm done cutting, and then I'm going to place it on another folded fabric like this, and then I'm going to cut the back. And mind you, when you're placing it, you're going to make sure that you place it well, like let it take the shape of the front, especially that place that we curved out first. Let it just take the shape. And I also left about 1 inch allowance up there from my starting point, because I'll be extending the back up, okay, to accommodate my bum. Now on this part of the pant, I'm going to cut exactly the same thing. Okay, as you can see, I'm cutting exactly the same thing as the front. Okay, but on this part where the crotch is, the back is going to be bigger by half of an inch. As you can see what I did, it is half of an inch wider. Okay, so you're going to make it 1/2 inch wider, and when you come to your crotch, you're going to extend the crotch of the back by 2 inches. So I marked 2 inches there, and I'm going to connect that half inch I'm cutting, connect it to that 2 inches like this, and then you're going to also connect it like this, and then let it meet the front at that upper point. Okay, this is to accommodate the bum. And remember, I told you I left about 1 inch up there. Now I'm going to make a slant from there to there. Okay, and I'm going to cut it like this. This is also to accommodate the bum at the back side, so that your trouser will not be sagging. Okay, so that it just stays well. Now we are done cutting the trouser. That is all. There's no dart or anything whatsoever. Like I said, I will just go ahead and join the crotch later on. Let's get into cutting the shirt. Now I folded my fabric into two for the shirt, and I measured my full length. I added 2 inches to it. Measure your full length. You can make yours 26, 27, 28 depending on how you want it, but I think 30 is the highest you can go. Then I marked out my bust or chest line, and then my waistline of 17 inches. From my starting point to my chest line was 8 inches that I marked. Then now I'm marking my shoulder of 8 inches, right? Added half inch to it. I just brought down a straight line there. Now I'm marking my neck width. I want the neck width to be 3 inches and the neck depth to be 1. Remember, this is the back, so we are cutting the back first. So the back neck depth is 1 inch, all right? The width is 3, and then I did my shoulder slope of 1 inch, and I connected it to the neck width, and then I did my armhole curve. Now go ahead and put my circumferences, which is my bust divided by 4 plus 3 inches, right? This 3 inches is 1.5 is for ease allowance, and 1.5 is for seam allowance. Of course, it's a free share, so you want to add an ease allowance, right? I also marked my waist circumference divided by 4 plus the 3 inches there, and I marked it, and then I did my hip divided by 4 and plus 3 inches, and I marked it at the hem. Okay, so I was just doing my waist circumference divided by 4 plus 3. I connected it and then connected it to my hem. Now I'm going to cut this off. Remember to add half inch seam allowance on your shoulder for joining. So I'll cut this off and then place it on another fabric to cut my front. Okay, now if this is too fast for you, I have a very detailed video on how to cut a camp collar shirt. Just how to cut a camp collar shirt. I'm going to link it up here and also on my description box. Okay, so if this is going to be too fast for you, or because of the nature of the fabric you find it difficult, just watch that video. It's easier, or it may be easier for you, right? So I placed it on another fabric, and I made sure on the folded end I left about 5 inches there Okay, as you can see, it is wider by 5 inches. And then I'll go ahead on the folded part of the back. I'm going to come out by 1 inch, mark it all the way down to my hem. Now I'm trying to create the cam collar for, just to make space for the collar, the cam collar, that's the lapel for the cam collar and the button allowance. Now I'm going to mark my neck depth for the front. I'm going to be marking a neck depth of 3 inches for the front, which I've just marked. So I'll just start from my neck width there and connect it like this. I'll go ahead and cut it out. So I'll just go ahead and cut everything out using the back as a guide. Okay, the difference is that the front is wider by 5 inches. Right now I'm done cutting it out, and then on this 1 inch that I marked, which will serve as a button allowance, I'm going to pinch it and I will notch both the top and the bottom parts. This is so I will know where I'm folding the fabric. Now I'm going to slash the front open because we need 2 pieces for the front. Slash the midpoint, and then the next thing I'm going to do is from that place that we notched, I'm going to come in by 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to also notch it. That is where our collar is going to start from. So make your notches so that it will be easy for you. Now we are done. This is what we are trying to achieve. Once I fold it like this, I will start fixing my collar from the second notch. So now for the sleeve, it's a basic sleeve, and because there's a cuff at the sleeve, I measured the length of my sleeve and I minus the length of my cuff. I want the length of my cuff to be 3.5 inches. You can make yours 3 or 4. Okay, then I just cut out my basic sleeve. I measured for my wrist, I measured my round wrist circumference, that is the circumference of my wrist, and I added 1 inch ease allowance to it and 1 inch seam allowance. Just add your ease allowance because it's a free outfit, so you don't want it tight. So I cut out my sleeve, and then I went ahead to join the shoulder of my shirt. Join the shoulder first, and then on this part on the front that we notched, okay, I'll iron an interface on it from the first notch that we made. So you can see the chalk is still there. I'll cut out an interface and iron in this because I just want that place, the lapel side, to be a little bit thick because this fabric is stretchy and light. So iron your interface on it on both sides. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to measure the roundness of my collar. So from this second notch, like I said, this is where the collar is going to start from. I'm going to take my tape and measure the circumference, the round collar. I'll stop at the other side. So I have 16 inches. That means I'll be cutting the collar of 16 inches length. Okay, I'm gonna have to cut my collar and I'll iron my interfacing on it. Please, I advise you to go and watch that tutorial where it's detailed. I did everything. Like, I showed you how to cut the collar, what you need to do. This is pretty fast because I don't want this video to be too long, so just go and watch that tutorial and come back and finish up with this. It's going to be pretty and a lot easier for you. Okay, now I want to fix my collar. I'm going to fold that part that I told you I would fold, and then I'll stitch I'll stitch it from the end to the second notch I made there. I did it for both sides. And then the next thing is I'll fold my neckline and get the midpoint of the bag, which I already notched. I will now go ahead and do the same thing for the collar. I fold my collar to get the midpoint, and then I'm going to place one piece of the collar, match the midpoint. This is the front of my shirt, so match the midpoint there and pin it. Please go and watch that tutorial. I beg of you, watch it. It is very important. It is more detailed and easier to follow. Okay, so now I'm going to attach my collar. So I'm going to open up this collar. I didn't sew my collar to the end. I left about half inch there so that I'll be able to open it up, sandwich it there in between there. Just put it there and cover it. Use this one and cover it, right? And then I'm going to pin it. Just make sure I align everything together and I pin as I go. And if you measured correctly, everything is going to align. Your collar is going to align to the neckline. There won't be any excess. So pin, make use of your pins and arrange everything. Once you're done arranging, I'm going to take to my sewing machine and sew it down. So I'm going to leave a link under my description, or I'll put it up here like I said, so that you can see that detailed video on how to cut a cam collar. Now I've done fixing my collar and this is what it looks like. This is what we're trying to achieve. Now the lapel has been formed already. Can you see? So the next I'm going to do is to fix my sleeves, and then I'm going to cut my cuff and also fix the cuff to the sleeve. Now for the cuff, this is what I have. I have 3.5 plus half inch to make it 4-inch seam allowance. The half inch for seam allowance. I told you I want the length to be 3.5, and the width is of course your wrist circumference divided by 2. Whatever you have, you're going to add 1 inch ease allowance to it and 1 inch seam allowance to it. Okay, so my wrist I'm working with is 8 inches. I added 1 inch ease allowance and 1 inch seam allowance. Now fold is going to be of course 4 inches for the sleeve circumference, then half inch ease allowance and half inch seam allowance, right? So I have 5 inches total. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make your cuff. That's the slit that we usually have, as we're doing a slit, not a placket. That's basic slit. Okay, now this is my sleeve. This is the left sleeve facing me. This is the left sleeve and this is the right side of it. I'm going to flip it to the wrong side like this. It's supposed to be at the back. That's where the slit should be. This is the front, so I flipped it to the back, and then I'm going to get the midpoint of the width. So what I have is 5 inches. So the midpoint of 5 inches is 2.5. I'm going to mark 2.5 there, and then I'm going to mark 3 inches upward from that hem there. Mark 3 inches upward. So 3 inches would be the length of my slit. You don't want it too wide or too long. So mark 3 inches and you're going to connect it with a straight line. Make sure it's a straight line. And then I'm going to cut it open to that 3 inches I marked. Make sure you're cutting just the back side. So cut it open like this. And then we have this slit here. I'm going to pipe this. So I cut out a strip of this fabric. It's measuring 1 inch by width. 1 inch by width. I'm going to use it and pipe this slit starting from the back side, just like you're using your bias to pipe your neckline. You're just going to pipe it from first. You're going to pipe on the back, and then you're going to flip it over to the right side and you sew it, okay, like this. Now I'll do that and I'll show you what it looks like. And I've done that. Look at what it looks like. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to I'm going to sew this end like this so that it's just takes kind of a V shape and it's not so open and round. So I'm going to match this slit like this. Let me turn this to the wrong side. I'll match this slit up, and then I'll sew this place just tiny, just sew it like this. Okay, so I've done that. As you can see, I've sewn on it just tiny there, and I'll show you what it looks like, the difference. Look at it, it kind of has this V shape and it's a bit covered now. So I'll go ahead and attach my cuff on it. So again, my cuff, I put an interface on my cuff so that it will be stiff as well. I'll go ahead and join the sides by half of an inch. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it inside, iron it as well, and then I'll attach it on my sleeve like this. So you're going to open your cuff like this, and then you're going to attach it from the inside, that's from the back side. Place it like this and just make use of your pins, pin it up, and you're going to just keep pinning till you get to the other side. And there's more likely going to be an excess a little bit, so if there's any excess, you're just going to pleat it a little bit and make sure that you're pleating it close to the slit. All right, so just spin it up like I am doing. When you get to the end, you'll notice that there's a little bit of excess. Okay, so if there's an excess like I have here, you're just going to pleat it a little bit. Okay, make sure you're pleating it close to the slit. So pleat it and then you're going to sew it down. So I'm done sewing. The next thing I'm going to do is fold in half of an inch on the right side and also sew. Okay, so I'll fold in half of an inch on the front side and I'll sew it, and that's all for the sleeve or the cuff. So here is what I have after I'm done. That's what we have, and that's all for the shirt. So I've gone ahead to fix the crotch, to fix my trousers. I fixed the crotch of the front and the back, and I sewed the sides by 1 inch. And then I'm going to sew my band. Of course, we are attaching a band, and the length should be the length of your circumference of your waist, and the width is 4 inches. Okay, so that once I fold it, I'm going to have a width of 1.5 half inches to join it to the waist. I'll join it to my waist and I'll attach my elastic, and that'll be all for this tutorial. Guys, if you found this tutorial helpful, kindly click on the like button and subscribe, and please comment, just say something. Okay, and thank you so much for watching to the end. Don't forget to watch the other tutorial of the cam collar, and I'm going to see you in my next one. Bye.